Self-love, y'all. Self-love. You know, instead of wondering about or worrying about, who love you and who don't show love, this, that, and the other. How much love you show yourself? It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to practice it. How much do you love yourself? Do you find yourself always taking care of others, making sure everybody else good, and at the end of the day, you're left neglected? That ain't self-love. That is not self-love. Um, okay, so let's get into it, man. My content is for educational purposes only. Can't stress enough for you guys to do your own research. Inform me of any oversights or mistakes you may run across. None of us have lived long enough to know all that transpired in the past, and none of us can live long enough to learn all there is to learn. Self-love. And it kind of, took me a while, man, to grasp that. I just, because for a long time, man, I just was, making sure everybody was good. Like I said at the beginning of the video, making sure the bills was paid, making sure it was always, enough for everybody in my situation, just being built to feed the family. You know what I mean? Because those are some of the things I was raised on. You know, um, you know, not to fall into being a sorry man. Anybody old school know that's one of the old school sayings. You sorry motherfucker, yeah. But yeah, more so than anything, I think for a long time, what drove me was basically the fear I had of being like one of the guys on the corner, with the beer in the paper bag, you know, played around, or took chances and took chances, and played and chanced their life away, you know. That was one of my biggest fears. That and dying in the penitentiary, you know. But as I grew and developed, within and of myself, and learned, you know, continued learning, I realized that self love it looks just like, the love you give to others, you know, making sure everybody else is good, making sure it's enough for everybody else, and as ironic as it may sound, I did all those things at the neglect of myself. And one of the main things responsible for all the changes that I've made in my individual life is the fact of the realization of how much I actually neglected myself. I found myself at times, man, where I didn't even really have no gear. You know what I mean? I had work gear because that's where I, generally spent 90% of my time. You know what I mean? But as far as having clothes, for whatever, regular clothes, dress down clothes, you know, event clothes and stuff like that, man, I didn't have that shit. You know what I mean? And it's not that that stuff means a whole lot to me, because it really don't. But I mean, I like the I like to look nice. I like to be able to, what I mean. And it ain't it's just taking care of yourself, same way you would take care of somebody else that you love. It's turning those energies inward on yourself, turning those actions in on yourself, turning your attention in on yourself. Self love comes in a whole lot of different forms, man. It can look like almost anything you can think of. I'll give you some examples. For example, okay, I did some time. I did over a decade, um, 6 different occasions, but I just didn't know what it was back then. You know what I mean? Self love is, you know, taking care of your mental health. To prevent you from making irrational decisions. That'll take you on a trajectory that can potentially lead you to the penitentiary. Because then you're just a pawn in their game. You become a warehouse receipt. You know, free labor. You know, and you waste away your life while you in there. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I wasted mine's away because I treated mine's, especially the last one, and even some during the middle, I treated them like college, man. I'm stealing books from the library, enhancing upon my scope of knowledge and understanding, vocabulary, etc. But self love, man. The same way you see others, you have to. Well, what I learned from me is that the same way I used to view others and give advice to others or suggestions to others, I do it to myself now. I'm more self conscious of myself now. And I pay attention to the things I do. You know, it's like I'm always outside of myself, looking at myself. If that's making sense to you, that's how consciously aware I am of self. I see myself make a mishap or a slip up, or I allow my emotions to become unraveled. As soon as I catch it, I correct it. If that calls for an apology, whatever the case, it's just about staying on top of yourself and always being able to see yourself in the same respect that you see others, and making sure that your lawn is manicured. You know, instead of focusing and fixating so much on those external to you. Self love can be, just keeping the focus on yourself instead of allowing your attention, to waver toward this one or that one, or what's going on over there, what they into. Nah, worry about yourself. Focus on yourself. Are you where you need to be? Did you complete the task that was necessary for you to complete the day? Did you fashion and install that one brick for the day that you need to install on a daily to erect that structure on your marathon to get where you trying to go? Did you do that? You know, these are just some of the things, man. Are you eating right? Are you paying attention to your eating? Are you allowing your appetites to dictate and rule over you? All these things fall under the envelope of self love, man, because, at the end of the day, if you're not on top of you, it's nobody else's responsibility to be on top of you and make sure that you're good and making sure that you're doing the things that's going to keep you sustained in the ideal manner, and health wise, and mental health wise, all those things, man. And self love also can look like not spreading yourself too thin, not taking on too much at one time. you know my issue is balancing out balancing out, you know, not my energies, but my emotions. You know, because I'm real passionate about things I do, man. I don't really do things if I ain't, all the way in with it. And if you all the way in with it, thus comes the passion, you know. Um, for instance, man, it's some issues that have arisen that I feel, I'm highly, to a degree, emotional about it because I see what's going on, but I also see that I'm the only one out of a multitude of individuals that feel the way they feel. It's not that nobody else feels the way I feel, but those that are in the position to create the circumstances for change, they don't feel like I feel. You know, so it's like, it's not that I don't feel like one person can't make a difference. I believe in me. It's just the fact that it's like, is the lemon worth the motherfucking squeeze? When you got so many others that don't feel like I feel, and it's like, oh man. Self love, man. And getting back to what I was just speaking about, man, is standing on what you stand on, regardless of how many people that fall against you. I've spoken about that before. Matter of fact, in my last video, I believe. You got to stand on what you stand on. It don't matter if the whole motherfucking room is against what you stand on. So be it. Stand on what you stand on. At least you being real to you. You being true to self. You know what I mean? You being your authentic self. You living in your truth. Instead of wavering to whichever way the status quo going. I ain't never really been about that. You know. But gotta remember, man, to look after you, man. Regardless of anything else or anybody else going on in your situation, you gotta look after you. Don't put yourself on the back burner. You know, not even the side burner. Because the things that you need, you need. It ain't like it's a want. You need to make sure that you're getting enough rest. You need to make sure that you're not stressing yourself out. You need to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself. And you also need to, maintain your emotional balance so that way you're not flying off the handle unnecessarily. You know, these are just some of the minor things, man, that we tend to overlook in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Going at this money and all that. Regardless of how much money you end up amassing, if you ain't right, and if you ain't, in the right state, it can affect your health. And if your health ain't right, which is your real wealth, it don't matter if you ain't got a fucking dime. But if you healthy and you living, there's opportunity. With life comes opportunity. To being amongst the living, there's opportunity. You know. Yes. So basically, man, I'm gonna cut this thing short prior to 15 minutes touching the clock. Just make sure you loving on yourself, man. Take yourself out to eat. Take yourself out to the movies. Go on, get your little manny and your petty. I do all that shit with self for self. You know what I mean? Take yourself shopping. Go on, treat yourself to something nice. You know what I mean? Go on, treat yourself to whatever it is that you need. Even if you don't necessarily need it, if you ain't treated yourself in a while and everything's straight and the money's proper, go on, treat your motherfucking self. Because when you feel good and when you look good, you feel good. When you're taking care of yourself, you're gonna feel good. So hopefully somebody can resonate with this, man. And just don't forget about yourself. regardless of anything else that's going on, man, y'all be easy.